Hello and welcome. Let's work a little bit more on this course slider here. You can see in this course slider, there's only 3 elements in here in this list. And if we make it smaller, it actually goes down to 2. And we're not going to do that just yet. We're actually going to write a React hook in order to do this, but we will do that in the future. But we just want to make it 3. Right now, we have the entire list displaying, which is only 4, but we want only 1, 2, 3. So let's work on that first. On the top of course slider.js, right after the const course slider here, I want to make a const, and you know what? Let's make sure I bring in useState before I do this. So after React, we're going to bring in useState. And here's how we set up useState. We're going to make a variable called course count and set course count. That will equal useState, and inside of there, we're just going to put the number 0. So course count is the variable telling us where we are in the list. If it's 0, we're at the beginning of the list. If it's right now, there's only 4 items on the list. So if it's 3, we'd be at the end of the list. And now after this, we want to let show courses. That's going to be equal to 3. Show courses will be the amount of courses we want on the screen. So right now we want 3 in this layout right here, so we don't want this one in there as well. Now after the course list, we're going to do some more definitions here. We're going to let active list. That will just equal an empty array, and then let's populate it with a ternary. So we will say show courses triple equal to 3 and just question that. So if it is triple equal to 3, what we'll want is the active list to equal an array, and in that array will be course list and it'll be course count. And now that would be the number 0, so it'd be course list at 0. And we need the comma to the next one. So I'm just going to copy them over. There's going to be 2 more here. So we want course count plus 1 for the second one and course count plus 2. And of course there are ways to do this with a loop, but I think this is pretty simple the way it is. Now we have that all in there. Let's finish our ternary. On the next line, this will be if there's 2. So let's define active list equal to, and then just the first 2 of these. Great, now we have something here. So head down to where course list is, pop in active list. And we now have 3 courses in there. Perfect, we made that work. And it looks good. Now we'll work on these buttons first. We'll get that going, stay on our theme of doing a lot of styling, and then we'll do some programmatic stuff, probably on the next one, about moving these back and forth with CSS animation. So there'll be a lot of styling there too. Let's head into the buttons. Right now, these buttons just say back and forward. We're going to want icons for that. So let's bring in a pair of icons. Right here under React, I will import, and from there, we're bringing in 2 different icons. It's FA, it's on 2 different lines, I didn't want that. Okay, FA, and it's undercase A, arrow left, and then FA, arrow right. And that'll be from React icons. Perfect. So let's bring those in first. So where it says back, change that to FA arrow left, and forward will be, oh, I didn't close it. Make sure you close it. And forward would be FA arrow right, and close that one too. Let's see those on the page. Can't be, I did this last time too. We have to import it from the libraries, and that's the FA library. So it is slash to FA, that's my mistake. Perfect. Let's see if it's on the screen now. Cool, here's our back arrow, here's our forward arrow. They are on the screen, and let's start styling one of them. once I get these out of here, they're not supposed to be there. Okay. So we'll go to SCSS and we'll head into course slider. And before we get started, let's just run our command. So yarn run SCSS, so we could get started. And let's just check that we're in the right space. So it was course slider course. It was course slider course back and course forward. So under course, not courses. So course slider course, and then just after that we'll write end dash dash back. And let's make the font size 10 rem. There we go. All right, so we did select it properly, and now let's start working on it. So let's not use this font size. First we'll define the display of flex. And let's move on to the overflow. We want that to be visible, not hidden. Visible. We'll also need to align items to the center. And let's take a look at what we're working with now. All right, good. That is in the middle. That's what we want there. Now let's justify content to the flex end. And we can see it moved over now towards this. That's what we wanted. Let's do a font size half of what we just did, about 5 rem. Looking good. And let's change that color to one of our variables. So color will be, oh wow, color interpolation filter is what it was guessing. Color. The color will be the gray. So color gray light, I think we called it. Perfect. And now we should basically not see it. It's right here, really hard to see. Let's change the Z index. This is going to be on top of the other, these cards here. So I'm making the Z index 10, so it's a bit higher than the other cards over there. Let's also change the cursor to a pointer. And I have to get rid of this, huh? And that cursor is working. Now we need to make, let me show you real quick. We need to make this outline. So that outline over there is a different type of element. It's a pseudo element. And it's actually a pseudo before element. So we'll do an end before. In our before, we have to define content. Make sure you do this. This is the biggest mistake I see people asking me. Why isn't there before element showing up? You didn't give it any content. Change the position to absolute. Let's do the overflow X. And that will be visible. Now let's give the element some size and a color so we can see it. So we'll have a height of 7 rem. We will have a width of 7 rem. And let's make it a circle with a border radius. And that's just a high border radius. We'll make it a circle, so 10 rem. Give it a background color. There we are. And that's going to be that color pink that we use. But use an RGBA. And then we'll have the $ color pink dark. And then we can comma 2.6 because we want it to be a little bit opaque and see-through there. There we go. Look, we have something right here and we can kind of see what's going on, but we can't see the other element. So let's give this a Z index of -1. That did it. Okay, we almost have our button. This does not look bad. We're going to want to move this kind of over the picture a little bit. Like that. It needs to be over the picture a bit. So let's start doing some transformations on the page. Well, on this element at least. First, we'll move the original element over a bit with transform. And that will be a translate X. And let's do that 3 rem. There we are. That moved things over quite a bit. Now we need this circle to fit over this again. So we'll transform just the circle to, so that's our before element. So transform, translate there again. transform, translate, X, and instead of there, let's do it 1.1 rem. Good. That looks good to me. It looks really, really good. Now I just want to make a hover effect where that background gets a lot stronger when we hover over it. So let's make a new selector for that. It's not just end before. So after that, right, end hover dot dot before. So this is the before element while hovering. What we want to do is change that background color to the color pink without any RGBA. So just color pink and get rid of all of that. Color pink dark, no RGBA. Now when we hover it, cool, this looks good now. So let's style that forward button as well. So we can actually just put it right before the back one. So how about end dash dash forward right here. And inside of there, let's display flex, and let's just make sure our selector is right. So we'll do the font size first. Font size, that's going to be 5 rem as well. So let's just make sure. Great. We have it selected. Let's get working. We're going to have the overflow visible again. So overflow will be visible. We're going to have align items to the center. Then we will justify, and this is a different one. So we'll justify the content, but we need to be at the flex start because this is on the other side. This is the flex start over here, and the flex end would be more over there, while the flex end over here is more towards the courses, as you can see. All right, time to make it kind of invisible with that color that we've chosen. So that was the color. It was color gray light. There we go. And then we'll have a transform and translate -3 rem, which is just the opposite of the other one. And the Z index is also important. Let's put that at 10 so it's over the other things in the slider box, and the cursor will be pointer. Now we have the forward made, but now we need the before. And here we're going to do it with the after selector. So end after. So there are before pseudo elements and after pseudo elements. This will have a content. Again, remember, it needs content. It's just going to be empty quotations. That's fine, but it needs a content. It'll have a position of absolute again. Let's do that overflow X and make it visible. We'll do the same transform, just the other direction. So translate X will be -1.1 rem. The height and the width the same, so 7 rem with 7 rem. Make it a circle with your border radius of 10 rem. And let's give it a color. The background color will be the color that we picked before, which was the RGBA color pink at 0.6, and a Z index of the -1. So it's behind the forward itself. And we got it. So we have our before element there, or after element there. Let's make sure we have the feedback on this side as well. So we'll use that a little bit more complicated selector here, where we go after the after and write end, hover, after, background color, color pink dark. Take a look at that. That looks great. Looking like the other one quite a bit now. We do need our add to cart. So let's make that other button so we kind of have everything done with the look of it here. So head over to your course slider.js first, go up a bit until we get to the course list. And now after element.price, there's where we'll put our next, not div, but input. The class name of the input will equal course. You know what, let me copy some of this. This is getting pretty long. Take all of this. So course slider course bottom, and then this will just be called button. Next, we need a type, and the type will be a submit button. And we'll need a value. In there, we'll write add to cart. And let's just close that up here. Cool, let's take a look. We do have a button on the bottom of each one of them, and man, it got real ugly, all that work we did. So let's style it to make it look good. Head back into CourseSlider.scss, and we need to make this in the bottom. So let's find bottom. Here we are, bottom. And I'll do it right after price. We'll have and -- button. Let's set its height to 4 rem. Make sure its width is 100%. Change the font size inside of it to 1.6 rem. And if you've done some buttons already, this is going to look a lot like the other ones. The font weight will be 600, so a little bit thicker, but not fully bold. And the color will be that color gray that we've been using. So color -gray light. The background color will be the blue one we've been using. Background color will be color blue light. Let's just see if it's there, looking okay. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. You can see we still have this outline and the other outline as well. It's a little harder to see because the other outline's blue, but if you click on it, you'll see the change. So let's get rid of the border and the outline. So border, none. Outline, none. Now we're looking good down there. Very cool. Let's change the cursor to a pointer. I definitely want it to be a pointer. Cursor should be pointer. Very good. Now down here we have our pointer too. What we're going to do later is, say we click here on the Alchemy of Automation, that will take you to the sales page. If you click add to cart, it will immediately go into your cart so you could buy it. So there'll be no more steps. You'll just put it right into your cart and you could purchase it right away if you want to click right here. Otherwise, you'll go to that whole sales page that we will make a bit later in the series. Now, we do want this to be a square button, and we want it to be square everywhere, so we need to do a couple things. The first one actually has nothing to do with that. Let's change the Z index to 1000 so it's higher than everything else on there. We want this to be clickable above this, so if we click this add to cart, we can stop the propagation of it clicking over here, as long as this is on top of the card itself. So that we're moving the Z index for that reason. But we're going to want to talk about phones real quick. WebKit -appearance. So WebKit appearance, right, none. That will get rid of the styling that comes from the browser on the phone. And then border radius. On iPhones, they have a little bit of a curved border on all of their buttons. So we haven't had to deal with that yet since we were curving all of our buttons, but now we have to say 0 because we want no curvature. We want this to sit at the bottom and look like part of the box. Now we're really looking good, and we're looking like the other one now. This looks perfect. All right, follow me over to the next one. We have some more work to do. Great job on this one, and I will see you there.